You're listening to Second Cut. This is the podcast, independent podcast that we make about topics in film, criticism, theory, history, and just whatever else related to film. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to be on this podcast, guys. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who kind of wishes he could ride motorcycles now.
I'm Sam, and I'm the living manifestation of destiny.
I'm Kieran. I'm the one that probably is choosing not to accept this mission of coming up with something for this bit because I didn't beforehand.
Perfect. That's good. Yeah, we're doing the mission, all of them. We've already done one of them. I completely forgot it, apparently. I don't remember any opinions I had about it. So we might as well have not done that from my perspective. We're doing, I guess, all 7 of them, kind of.
Yes. I haven't seen the new one yet. I don't know if you have, Sam.
I have, yes.
Okay.
Review's not quite finished yet, but I have seen it, and I have opinions.
Okay, so we're doing the first. This is a thing on the first 7 installments. The final reckoning will come at a later date.
Yeah,
it is not quite final yet.
Yes.
Tomorrow, probably. If you want my full thoughts on it.
There you go. So, I mean, Mission Impossible was a 60s TV show. Who doesn't love 60s spy TV shows?
Yeah. How many people who aren't Tom Cruise actually remember that series, do you think, from the 60s?
I mean, unless you're somebody... It is the equivalent of, like, Steven Spielberg referencing, like, the matinee serials from the 40s. Yeah. Although, actually, probably... Steven Spielberg is somebody that probably would have remembered Mission Impossible as the TV series.
My dad probably liked it. He liked Get Smart. Like, I'm sure he watched that Bill Cosby show.
There were quite a few spy shows in the 60s, weren't there? It was like Man from U.N.C.L.E. as well. It's
yeah. I mean, I think in the UK you had stuff like Z Cars and the Avengers and stuff like that weren't quite spy, but they were sort of thrillery. Sort of things.
And of course Hollywood loves to take old TV shows and turn them into movies, and this is definitely one of the more successful instances of that, as
it's only slightly successful.
There's 8 of them. They've had some incredible directors, and I guess let's just go ahead and get into it since we're talking about 7 of them. The first one,
I just want to check the total franchise gross. I'm trying to see if there's a.
This says 4.35 billion on Wikipedia for 8 films.
The 17th highest grossing film series of all time. Not bad, really.
No.
And even the one that didn't make as much, the previous one, still. What was it? Directing Part 1. Still made half $500 million. It just
eventually climbing to $500 million.
Made more than Justice League.
Yeah, but unfortunately with that one, the last 2 have been really expensive. A lot of that due to COVID and having to reschedule and reshoot stuff. It's been a really, really expensive way to make these kind of movies, which are already usually quite expensive.
Yes, I mean, action movies normally are on the more expensive side, and I mean, I don't think it's just Tom Cruise's budget, but that's going to take a decent chunk out of it. Although on the other side, if you're producers, you go, okay, we've got Tom Cruise in this. Okay, this film kind of now doesn't have a budget. You kind of just keep throwing stuff at it because Tom Cruise.
Considering he's the lead producer in all of these, it's
And
I think he's obviously heavily involved in every aspect of the production, as well as fronting it as the main star. But on the creative level and financing, and I'm still convinced that's the only reason he's a producer in every film he's in now, just so no one can say no to him. Basically, it's like, well, I'm writing the checks. I'll do what I like. Thank you.
Yeah. These films also run 18 hours and 23 minutes in total.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I also think it's interesting that with films like these that have been going on for so many years, what is it, nearly 3 decades now, give or take a year. Um, there are kind of stylistic things that you see changing throughout the films, and I'm sure we're going to get into some kind of things that you can see just like filmmaking and just the styles and stuff that evolve with changing taste and how you make action movies, how you make thrillers, and stuff that goes on as time goes on. It's really kind of interesting if you were to marathon them all the way through. Just to see how a bit like James Bond as well. I think James Bond especially. You know, you definitely see not just the way kind of the visuals change, but pacing and themes, and just kind of we've got lots of sparks in this one. We don't have it here. You know, the 90s action movies has what I call the golden eye look, which is lots of kind of polished steel and chrome and lots of sparks, and that's the aesthetic of like the first two. The later films kind of move away from that.
Well,
You know, it's a
you know
lot more of the kind of
what's weird about this versus Bond is you look at 30 years of Bond and you're going to see 3 different guys playing him at least. And like, this is just all Tom Cruise.
Yeah, it is actually an amazing like.
Yeah.
I know Tom Cruise gets a lot of stick, and we'll take the Mickey out of him for everything we can. But at the same time, you cannot deny his just absolute just like drive for this kind of thing. And
He's a force of nature. Yeah.
He is an absolute unit, a pint-sized unit, but a unit nonetheless. You know, just churning these out still with like. Just he still feels like he is starting to look like he's aging, but he still feels like he's sort of 30 years old. You know,
He looks like he's aging in Ghost Protocol, by the way.
Yeah. I did notice seeing the latest one at the weekend. It's like he's still very impressive for a man of his age, can do what he can do still, but his face doesn't quite doesn't quite it moves around a lot more than it used to. You know, when he's like flying through the air and stuff. You know, there's give there now. You know, he is a mortal man after all.
Somehow, yeah.
It's just somebody in a mask. That's all it is. By the way, that is one thing I miss as the series moves on is you get less and less of people tearing a face off.
They tend to limit them to one per film after they overdid it in the first couple, I think.
So dumb. That's easily my favorite part of any of these movies.
Yeah. This is one of the troubles that the first one has. If we start off with the first one, it is a good film, but half the time it takes you about 5 times going through to go, wait, so they're there, they're working for them, for them, and it is very kind of
but it is kind of referencing like the tropes that they use in the TV series. You know, as far as I think they did the mask thing quite a bit, and there's lots of double crossing and triple crossing and everything like that. Quite boldly, they didn't directly adapt the series. They took the lead character from the series, Jim Phelps, and turned him into you thought at first was just a supporting character, and turns out he's the main villain of the thing, as played by John Voight. You know, it's quite bold, taking the hero of the series and turning him into the villain, and then asking us to follow this entirely new character in Ethan Hunt. You know, it was
he also has a very young wife, who is like Tom Cruise love interest age.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
This one's Brian De Palma, by the way, who probably watched the TV show growing up.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell. I think it is a very Brian De Palma stylistically. I think him and John Woo, two of the most aesthetically kind of distinctive auteurs out there. You know, kind of be at the head of these first two is really interesting. But they do a thing in this where you think it's going to be like, I don't know, maybe like an Ocean's movie or something, like a team up. You know, that you get the team together and then you know, they're on a mission. They've all got to complete all these challenges. And they start doing that, but then like, what was it, 15 minutes in or something, the whole team is killed off.
What I love is they have the part where they introduce them all in the computer thing, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so dumb. And then they all die. It's awesome.
And they're not like no-name people either. It's almost like Drew Barrymore of Scream, isn't it? You know, you have Emilio Estevez and Kristen Scott Thomas and I can't remember who else now, but I remember those two anyway.
Yeah, it's a very interesting way to set it off, and especially, I mean, you say the thing about the main character being kind of whoever it is from the original series. Also got to remember that this is a series from like the 60s. I don't know when it finished, but it's probably early 70s at the latest. There's been a whole generation that don't know the series. I mean, I'll put my hand up. I've not seen a single episode. You know, it's that kind of thing that you know it exists, but you don't really go for it.
So the series ran from 66 to 73, so 7 seasons, 170 episodes.
That's crazy.
So quite a while.
And I mean, a lot of it, we do have to appreciate that a lot of it will kind of be riffing off Bond. You know, it's a team version of Bond. And that's why, obviously, with the first one coming back, the first one in 96, you know, there's a lot of the face stuff because there's a lot of the gadgets. This is kind of, you're still in the kind of the gadgety era of Bond to a certain extent. So when you bring it in there, you've kind of got to play off something like GoldenEye and the Brosnan stuff and all that kind of thing. The later ones, I think it's really interesting that you see a shift away from this along with kind of the Daniel Craig Bond, in that it becomes a lot more kind of, I'm going to say kind of dusty kind of streets, almost like drab kind of brick buildings kind of thing. You know what I mean? There's an aesthetic change, cobblestone streets rather than the shiny chrome.
What I love about the gadgets in this one is it's trying to be very not trying to be. It is for 96 the cutting edge with getting online on your tiny laptop with the tiny keyboard and emailing, and it's like, wow, look at this. And I'm watching it now and going, I mean, I could just do that on my much smaller phone in my pocket. But it's fun to see, like, yes, my cellular telephone that I have. What is the range on this?
Every time you watch something like this, I am always thinking now of Kingsman, where they've got all the gadgets and Eggsy points to one of the phones and goes, so what's so special about them? And Colin Firth goes, nothing. Their tech has caught up to ours. You know, it's like, actually, there's nothing you can't. And I think it's really funny that in this, you've got all the little timers and stuff like that. By the time you get to the fourth one, which is Ghost Protocol, now they're starting to use like an iPhone for everything. You know, everything works. They have an invisible screen at one point that they use an iPad to kind of go for, and it's all done by apps now. It's really funny on that level. But the first one is just interesting because it is so kind of clunky tech, which is really fun from a gadgety point of view.
Yeah. And these films, they're marketed heavily on the fact that basically you're going to have one or two, probably two major stunts, like death-defying stunts that Tom Cruise is going to be completing himself, you know. And obviously the famous one in the first one is the vault, is the CIA vault, you know. Him
so
from the ceiling.
The plot of it is, his team dies. They were trying to get this list, and basically
it's all the active agents around the world,
all the undercover agents, and so Tom Cruise is told that was a giant mole hunt, and he is suspected, I think, of being the mole, so he needs to get together his team of rogue agents so that he can retrieve the real knock list to sell to an arms dealer and essentially save the IMF and the CIA and America. That's what it is every time. The other thing we need to bring up is Ethan Hunt is the ultimate good guy who's always doing the best thing ever.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are interesting. One is that for supposedly working for the Impossible Missions Force, the IMF, he does an awful lot of they think he is the bad guy and he has to go off grid. This is the plot of nearly all of them, if not all of them. In a similar vein to what were then, I think, the Bourne novels, because if you watch the Bourne movies now, that's the plot of all of them. They think he's a bad guy and the good guys have to be bad even if it's on their team.
Usually what can't we go public with is a sort of shady job, you know. He's doing the stuff that no one else can do. But despite doing that kind of work, as you say, he's got this moral kind of sense to himself, and he'll always, you know, put himself last, you know, throw himself in front of the bullet, you know, to save as many people as possible, you know, not thinking about.
But it turns out he pushed somebody in a mask that looked like him in front of the bullet, maybe.
See, there's also an interesting thing about Ethan Hunt. Somebody was putting it online recently, saying that their reason for their inability to kind of care about the Mission Impossible franchise is that kind of they couldn't connect with Ethan Hunt as a character. And my answer to that is that Ethan Hunt isn't a character.
No, he's not.
He's a cipher and a plot point with a backstory to pretend to be a character.
And a wife.
He's a plot device machine, and occasionally they'll give him some kind of human connectivity, a kind of a brief marriage, or hints at his past and everything. But we never really learn much about him. I mean, for years I wasn't even convinced it was his real name. I mean, it's not been confirmed either way, but it might as well.
Well, his real name is Tom Cruise. That's the point.
Yeah.
Like, at a certain point, you just there is no Ethan Hunt. It's just Tom Cruise.
Are we
being
sure
Tom Cruise.
this isn't like Tom Cruise filming himself saving the world from terrorists? We don't know.
Well, it is.
One thing about the first one,
off a bridge.
the first and second one, I really kind of lumped together as the two best, my two favorite at least. It's a lot of it's the tense editing. So the way De Palma cuts together that sequence where he's coming down from the ceiling, like it's pristine, and there's so much tension. It is perfect. Wu has a lot of great moments like that too, and you could kind of see the threads when JJ gets on board.
And with the vault scene, that decision to be like not only the force to be pressure sensitive, but for it to be for that decibel measure as well. So the space plays out as completely silent,
and the temperature.
So clever, temperature.
It again for I mean we think of it as just a sort of, and I think this happens quite a lot when you have kind of major sort of action franchises, be this Marvel, Star Wars, Bond, Mission Impossible, what have you. A lot of stuff tends to just go, oh, it's big and dumb and stupid and stuff like that, which completely misses the fact that there are moments. I mean, the first Mission Impossible is not perfect in any way. There are glaring, just massive problems with it, and you watch it and you go, but the vault drop scene is for tension and suspense and anything like that. It is bordering on perfect. Like you watch it and you go,
sweat on his glasses. It's like,
I mean, we have the thing of he's like this sort of 2 inches off the ground and manages to somehow bend his arm around and get it on.
I mean, if you notice, I don't think Ethan Hunt ever wears glasses again in the series that aren't just shades. I'm convinced the only reason he's wearing glasses in that scene is for the sweat. It's to facilitate that. Which is
and it reminds me of one of my. It's a film I've only seen the once, but if you've seen Rafifi, Jacob, I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, he's in The Lion King. I've seen him.
I've not seen it, but I know it by reputation as like one of the best heist movies ever made.
There is a heist scene where essentially there is kind of a decibel sort of thing, and it plays out over this like 40-minute sequence where there's about, I don't know, 5 lines of dialogue. And they're drilling. They got to like drill in from the top floor and kind of lower stuff down to the safe. And they're doing stuff like they've lowered they've got a small hole, and they lowered down an umbrella and opened it to catch all the rubble that's dropping through on the rest of it and stuff like that. And it's it's not silent, but it's as quiet as you can get, and it just goes on and on and on and on. And it's just something like that is so tense and so genius. It reminds me a lot of it by having to shut it down. I'm also reminded of the episode of Buffy the Gentleman, which Joss Whedon but apparently the entire reason for that, which is an episode where or essentially you're not allowed, you don't speak. Is it you don't speak, or you get your voice stolen or something like that, and they come for you if you make noise? The entire reason for that was that Whedon was told the only reason people are watching is because your dialogue's good. So he went, okay, then let's not have any dialogue and see if I can still pull it off. And when you take away something like that, everything just focuses down. I remember a TV advert at one point. It was something like a smoke alarm or something ridiculous. But the first sort of 15, 20 seconds was done without sound. And they come back on and go, see, you actually watch when there's no sound going. You know, because all the attention suddenly is drawn to something that you can't rely on these other senses. You have to live in the moment of what's in front of you, and that vault scene is so good for doing that. And it's also a perfect kind of just build up for it, of going in, of having somebody there, walk out, do his turn around, and just the tension of just continuously kind of stretching that elastic band, as Tarantino would say, you know, and keeping it going and going and going. And it's just so well done. It's so pristine. It's so good. And it's not a big action scene either. You know, this is seen as an action movie, an action thriller. That's great. But a lot of the action kind of explosion stuff you can't remember. The small tense,
I remember it.
the small tense moments. I mean, just in action movies in general, all the stuff kind of blurs into one. Small moments are the bits that you remember because all the focus is on it rather than just letting it wash over you. And that's what makes that so good. And the fact it looks gorgeous. It's bright white as well, which means that you can see everything clearly marked out.
Yeah. It's like the seeming simplicity, but like such effectiveness of that scene makes it all the more heartbreaking. That I don't think the finale of this film is that good. Really, I think it's aged really poorly. In fact, it's just so
I love it.
So green screen,
Helicopter follow train.
So green screen heavy, you know, in the tunnel and everything. It's just you know, I think it's the least kind of grounded scene probably in the whole series, and
that's saying something.
Well,
which I'm sure is why Tom Cruise wants to come back in the 7th one and do a proper practical train scene.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. Yeah, it hasn't aged super well visually, but I just like helicopter flying, bad guy in the helicopter. Oh yeah, we're gonna blow this up, and all the hanging off of it, which you know I think is kind of ridiculous until I see at the start of the next movie that he rock climbs. He has very good finger strength. But
I was gonna say we say these things are stupid, and then we go Fast 9.
But they're awesome.
Well, it's awesome.
Space.
I'll agree with you. Visually, it hasn't aged well, and it is kind of dumb, but it is awesome. And that's what I cared about. But the other big thing for me in the finale is that a modem is like, they really like the word modem. They just keep saying it. It's on the screen. Modem was like the biggest tech word in '96, apparently.
And again, these are some of the things that you start to see change as everything goes on,
Yeah. Did we have anything else major about number one? The only other thing I can think of is Max is brought up again in Fallout because they're at her funeral or something, her celebration of life.
Yeah. And Vanessa's character is all but confirmed to be her daughter, basically. So, you know.
I was pretty sure, but
I mean, it's pretty random, but genius getting in Vanessa Redgrave to play an arms dealer. That's great. It's a nice.
I will also say with this one that when they had the initial discussion that they think Ethan might be the mole, this is kind of when I started getting into film and learning the theory. This is what I think of when I think of a Dutch angle. Because Ethan's face is like pretty much sideways on the screen, you know, and you can give me all the traditional examples of it that you want. I think of Tom Cruise at a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, it's a scene in the cafe between Ethan and Kittredge, isn't it? Yeah, the camera getting tighter each shot and more slanted each shot.
Yeah, it's just like, no matter what I think of, that's what I think of when I think of a Dutch angle. And you were saying about the chase right at the end. For some reason, whenever I see a train versus another vehicle of some kind, I automatically now think of the Hitchcock film Number 17, where the finale is essentially a model train versus a model bus and done in miniatures. And obviously, we know that Tom Cruise and I guess the Mission Impossible guys in general for the films are big Hitchcock fans, because the second film, as we've covered, is just notorious for being that boom
and
shakalaka.
It's John Woo, so every aspect of the gunplay is amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, and they've got Cruise because it's the late 90s, and because he's doing a lot of flying through the air. They've got Cruise to grow his hair out, so it flies very attractively around in slow motion.
does.
2001, isn't it? I think
it came out in
2000.
2000.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. It's
With-
funny. I do think of it as like a tail end of '90s film, despite coming out in the millennium. I think it does feel '90s.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
this
still
one,
has that.
it's one thing to note. The first few, I mean, obviously the last Chris McQuarrie's, last four have been more kind of regular, but generally before this, before he took
was
a
sort of
franchise,
5-year breaks between each one.
exactly. Yeah, they took the time to try to work out what can we do next, how we're going to make it different, what can we improve on, and they really did seem to take the time, make sure it was to their liking, didn't rush them out before.
Does anyone remember what episode we did this John Woo one on?
No.
Do you want me to look back through the Spotify archives?
It's all right. I thought Sam just might know because sometimes he does, but basically the plot of it is there is a virus made by a company, and this doctor's on a plane, and he's got the virus, and he's got the cure. Although why I don't know why they're making the virus a cure. Maybe they explained it in the movie and I forgot. But the bad guy's pretending to be Tom Cruise, but it's actually Doug Ray Scott, and he takes the cure and needs to get a hold of the virus so that he can kill people and then purchase stock options to make money off the. It's basically what like conspiracy theorists think real diseases are. Is the plot of this movie.
Yep.
And then John Woo was very, very patient getting to all of his gun stuff. And for that, I applaud him.
He gets to it eventually.
And then also there's this thing of doubling where Sean Ambrose used to actually double for Ethan Hunt. So he knows his moves and he's sort of an ultimate antagonist. And then also they have this love triangle with his ex-girlfriend, which is a major part of the plot.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, I don't be cruel. Doug Ray Scott really sucks in this. He is just so bad.
That's fine. I don't mind him. I don't think he's particularly good, but I don't think he was bad either. But overall, I do
go
like
into this in depth because I don't actually think we've released that episode.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
What's to record and never release it?
Yeah, that's how we did it back in the day, isn't it?
I thought it was.
Through the Spotify
I thought it was a third in one of our episodes. Like we did, I don't know, movies with birds, and Kieran was like, "Yeah, I'll do Mission Impossible 2."
You're the one more likely to have done that. No, I think it was a full episode.
Right, hang on. I've got the file here, recorded on June 2023.
Yeah.
I can't think.
Well, it's not on Spotify, at least.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we were still doing one film an episode back then. So maybe we didn't release it.
Well, then never mind. We're going to talk about the second Mission Impossible with no spoilers. You don't know our opinions.
Also, somehow they get Anthony Hopkins in it for 2 scenes.
Yes.
Yes, it's just to deliver the immortal line. It's not mission difficult. It's mission impossible.
Done. He gets replaced with Alec Baldwin.
This one's Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, you get Hans Zimmer doing the score and his version of the theme, but you also get the Limp Bizkit version as well for the opening credits.
I will point out that also Metallica do one of the closing tracks as well. So somehow was the first Metallica song I ever heard. I Disappear.
That's interesting. Seeing as you're a metalhead.
I know. It's just kind of. It was just the first one I heard somehow.
The love triangle worked for me a lot better than I think it did the first time. I really appreciated the sort of personal stakes of, oh, you know what? Not only am I trying to beat this guy, it's also the guy who slept with my girlfriend and is using her against me.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason it works better. It's because it's somebody else's film that's much better than this one is. There's a reason for it. Like, it's a Hitchcock movie, and they just shoved more explosions in it and more locked together car twirling off the side of a
lot of motorcycle riding. Lot of that.
Yeah, a lot of motorbike riding through flames. and Thandie Newton in it, just poor woman,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah,
forgotten
yeah.
now.
I mean, again, it comes down to the writing. I don't think there's that much distinct about her character, but she does the best with what she's given. I think it's a decent performance. It's just not particularly interestingly written character.
Well, what's funny is the movie is self-conscious of, yeah, we didn't get her for her actual talent. We got her because she used to date this guy. But I do find the way that Mission Impossible uses its female characters, like I see it as like conscious, we're going to have women that could do things, and it's not just like make strong female character where she is literally strong. Like I do appreciate the fact that they had female characters just kind of doing stuff, and it's not like that scene in Avengers.
Yeah. There's normally at least one in each of his teams, isn't there? And sometimes they even get to do some of the action. I mean, obviously Rebecca Ferguson is a major player in the in films 5, 6, and 7. So 5 and 6.
God, she's in 7 too. Okay.
For a small while.
I was like, that's a character they didn't need to. We'll get to Fallout, but
I think that Thandie Newton's character is interesting because she doesn't. Does she do any of the fighting? I don't think she does. No. But at the same time, goes back to something I've always said. You can have strong female character without them needing to beat somebody up.
Yeah. I mean, this one thing again, not to get into kind of too much detail, but I was slightly disappointed by what I did with Hayley Atwell's character in the latest one. So Grace is actually really interesting because she's not an action hero. She's a pickpocket. She's good with her hands and everything, and she's got something about her. She can think her way out of a situation and deceive people, but she's not like an action hero. And there are moments in the film where they do try and turn her into an action hero without warning, really, and it's not really a reason for it. It's like
but the Thandie Newton character, who I can't even remember the name of in the second film,
Naya.
It's interesting. Naya, okay, yeah, that works because she has to do things and be strong-willed in doing them and maintain composure and lie and go through with it in a very, very dangerous situation, which she knows is not just threatening her life, but millions, if not billions of others. And you have to be strong as an individual, mentally, personally, kind of from the core to be able to do this without necessarily needing to be able to beat somebody up with muscles, the size of houses. And she manages to get as much as she can out of that's what we're trying to do with the character. There are times where it's a little bit, now she's the damsel in distress, but she does take matters into her own hands in ways that aren't just beat him up, and I appreciate that it went for that and tried that.
The distress is, I infected myself with this virus and I'm going to throw myself off a cliff if Tom Cruise doesn't show up with the antidote pretty soon.
I mean, I like I'm going to inject myself with it. Because that is, I remember watching it for the first time and going, okay, I did not see that coming. That's an interesting way to get out of this scenario. And at the same time, you have to be, as a character in that particular moment, as an individual, you have to be strong-willed enough to come up with that and go through with it. And for all its other faults, I thank the film for at least trying that.
And I also like the part towards the end where what we find out is that Ambrose's plan is to get stock options, and I'm like, that's great. I love that he's a supervillain that just ultimately wants money and to retire.
It's one step removed from Lex Luthor in the original Superman. His grand plan just been a real estate job.
He is, and also obviously bearing in mind only 10 years before you had Die Hard. This is a slightly bigger kind of chemical weapons version of Die Hard. As much as we can say anything else.
I mean, we briefly mentioned the opening stunt in this, which is Tom Cruise, free climbing up this massive cliff face in Australia.
Terrifying.
Which came about apparently because the weather had turned on their planned location for whatever scene they're shooting to that day. And Tom Cruise, where he's staying, said, "Oh, there's a cliff up there," and the car seems to have cleared for a minute. Let's just shoot something quickly. I'll do something. I know. I'll climb that cliff." And they said, "All right, we'll film to this thing, and we'll make something." Make it into something involving the story later on, or just have it as our intro. They didn't exactly know what they're going to do with the scene, but they ended up putting it at the beginning anyway. So
there's a story that because of that, because it was so quick and stuff like that, he didn't have as many kind of security measures attached to him.
Yeah.
So the insurance people were absolutely losing their minds because Tom Cruise literally was pretty much just free climbing up a massive cliff face in a desert.
That's
with
insane.
the absolute. He might have had a rope that they kind of CGI'd out.
It comes back because he has to climb up the cliff face to Bear Island.
It's so ridiculous, the stuff he does. Again, we take the mickey out of him, but you cannot doubt his determination, work ethic for all this stuff.
The other contrast between Tom Cruise and Ambrose is that, or Hunt. Hunt is nice to his team and women, and Ambrose is not. He's mean to them. He cuts off their pinkies so that in big reveals of face swaps we can identify them. And he's a misogynist, so it's good that he dies.
Interestingly enough, though, I definitely think there is a GoldenEye kind of riff going off this as well, and that they're both from the same team and one's turned down the dark path, and they knew each other. And considering 5 years beforehand, GoldenEye came out and was like the best Bond film for like a decade and a half, and everyone. Okay, we're gonna do this.
To be fair, isn't that every Mission Impossible villain?
Yeah,
what they're
quite a few of them. Yeah,
there's only so much you can do, really.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing about this one, the big knife fight on the beach at the end that ends at. Again, I feel I did deja vu because I definitely mentioned this when we recorded our podcast a couple of years ago that never got released. Tom Cruise wants to up the ante with that one. So originally it was like the knife was suspended. It was like tied back by wire, so it couldn't get that close to his face. But Tom Cruise says, "No, I'm not really feeling this. Let's get rid of the wire." And basically,
and he kicks a gun in the air.
Yeah. And that shot of the knife like nearly hitting his eye, basically, that was done in camera for real. I mean, it was obviously it wasn't that sped up, but it could have gone
That's
wrong.
awesome.
Yeah, I will say a lot of the stunts in these movies are at least done for real, and we all go, "Yay, Nolan does everything." It's like Tom Cruise. If it's a character who's like, "I'm going to hang on to the side of a building," he'll go, "Just give me one cable and I'll hang on the side of the building." "Oh, I need to actually run away from an explosion." "No, just set it off behind me and I'll run," kind of thing. It's like fair play to him. He goes all out there. This movie has issues.
It's the weakest of the series for me. I'm not saying it's not fun, but I'm saying it's the worst film.
It is, yeah. I can enjoy it, and at the same time, I go, "This
but
actually is
even But even a bad Mission Impossible film is still perfectly watchable. I'm not saying anything different, but yeah, I'm not.
It takes until the last sort of 20 minutes for the doves to come in,
And they matter. Like,
yes,
they aren't just there. But it's got the most personality for me, and I enjoy it. It is convoluted, but I enjoy it probably the most. If I had to pick one to sit down and watch, I'd pick this one.
Yeah,
because it's kind of the big dumb stupid one.
Yeah. And then next up we had J.J. Abrams in his directorial debut doing MI3.
It's supposed to be Fincher, by the way. So.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and he decided to take the series a bit to slightly grittier places and make it a bit more handheld and Bourne-y, basically. The shaky cam comes in earnest here.
I'm going to be completely honest. Although I watched this one quite a few times when I was younger, because I got the first three in a box set. There are about. Realistically, the only part of it I can remember is Tom Cruise holding Philip Seymour Hoffman out of a helicopter going, "What is the rabbit's foot?" And that's about it. I like the idea of the rabbit's foot, where kind of you're fairly sure it's some kind of like biological weapon, but they never actually say it. And Abrams has been, on record a whole lot talking about the kind of theory of the mystery box and that kind of thing. And it's at least interesting that they try it here. But at the same time, even if it's technically better than the second one, it's probably the most forgettable.
Yeah.
Well,
And I think this lacks like the one really standout stunt. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of action in this, and there are good moments, but they're not like major kind of put them on your marquee kind of set piece kind of things this time around. It's slightly different.
It's shot in the very 2000s, like lots of shadow and color contrast. Like you could tell this is a mid 2000s movie. I really hate the way it looks, especially coming off John Woo. And then on top of that, like, I like Philip Seymour Hoffman, but he's not used enough in it. And
see, I think Davian is the best villain of the series.
He's good
because he gets to be properly nasty. He's an irredeemable monster, and he's so much fun. You're right, but it's almost like I think it'd been less effective if he was in it more. It's like you really savor the scenes he's given. I think.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, maybe it's because he's dead. Like, I just want more Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
But the plot of it is basically, so it opens with the sort of climactic scene of, I'm gonna shoot this lady. I'm gonna count to 10. We don't know what happens, and then Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt is living, a civilian life. He's got a wife now. And, just when he thought he was out, they pull him right back in. Yeah. And Philip Seymour Hoffman wants the rabbit's foot. He's bad guy. What is the rabbit's foot? Yeah, he is bad guy.
It's a MacGuffin. It doesn't matter.
So we need to get bad guy thing before bad guy. Yeah. But then when they get that, well, bad guy escapes, and the bad guy gets wife. So, and the whole movie, you're sitting there going, well, come on, Tom Cruise, you're going to get out of this. What happened at the beginning? Is it going to happen? But no, it does.
Yeah, and you actually get two major female characters in this one, which is nice. So you have Julia, you have the wife, Michelle Monaghan, you have Maggie Q as another agent. So
she's great.
Action, which is,
I will also say that this is the film that introduces Simon Pegg's Benji.
Yes,
that's true. Yeah,
and you know what? Thank the Lord that Simon Pegg came into this franchise. And there is obviously a tendency for all action blockbusters to go slightly down this is too comedic route. This is a criticism of Marvel on occasion, and to a certain extent. With Marvel. Actually, I had the problem with Shane Black's The Predator, that there was a back and forth that in terms of the dialogue and the way it's cut and the way it's written going throughout that for that movie. This sounds really weird, but it's very American blockbuster dialogue in terms of the very snarky back and forth between characters that we have to do in serious situations in order to like the movie. Something Marvel has done quite a bit as well, and now become known for. But thankfully, even though you have Simon Pegg, who is a comic actor, he can do serious as well, but he is a comic actor, and obviously he came off the back of Shaun of the Dead. For this, which I don't think we actually realize how much influence Shaun of the Dead had over several people's careers. This little stupid zombie comedy. He comes in and like right from the word go, he absolutely nails it. It's great. And obviously, after doing this, J.J. Abrams then brings it in for Scotty in Star Trek, and now he's big Hollywood action star, isn't he? But this kind of was his major movie debut, and this is like 3 years after he'd kind of done a proper leading man debut as well, so it's quite a leap as well. But every time he turns up in all of the others, like, hey, Simon Pegg's back.
This is where we're gonna differ. I don't like Simon Pegg being in these movies because I like Ving Rhames so much.
Yeah. I mean, Ving Rhames obviously the other constant, Luther, and he has less and less kind of screen time as the franchise goes on. Except for spoiler, the last film, he is in the new one quite a bit. So I'll just say that. But generally, he's. I mean, I don't know whether it was. I think I joked for years about saying, "Oh, isn't it nice Tom Cruise just gets his mate Ving back in for each film, just gets to sit down and just say a few cool lines." He doesn't need to run around. He doesn't need to do action. He just sits down at a computer.
I mean, I will agree that there is a point that then like both of them are kind of working on the tech. So you kind of go you're kind of
Yeah.
splitting one role between two. If one of them's the tech and one was more kind of the getaway muscle, maybe you split it up like that because that's
Yeah.
what you normally do for these things, don't you? You
Yeah,
apply
I
specific
mean,
roles to
I mean,
characters.
Luther's thing is he's the one of the greatest hackers in the world, so it's computers are his thing. I think Benji is more general tech support, gadgets and stuff like that. He's basically more like the team's Q, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how you
Slash
differentiate.
field agent. Well, and Kieran, you're talking about the Marvelization. Like, that's what Brad Bird's is for me. And that's his first full movie. And yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But the one thing I also didn't like about this one is it explains how the masks work with like, here's how we go through the process of making them. It's like, no, I don't want to watch that.
Yeah. Yeah, it explains, but still doesn't.
It's like midichlorians, but for IMF.
Yeah. But still doesn't explain how Ethan Hunt grows 3 inches to be Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Good point.
Yeah, well,
Or gets
it's the
the
same
beer
logic.
belly.
It's the same logic, slightly off tangent, in Yu-Gi-Oh! How when he changes into the Pharaoh, nobody notices. His voice drops and he grows a couple of inches and suddenly has card-playing abilities that he didn't have before. Just saying.
That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, at the end, Julia also gets to do stuff. She shoots somebody while Tom Cruise is dead from blowing a explosive charge in his head with a power.
He died. Ethan Hunt dies and gets better quite a few times in this series.
Yeah, and she has to bring him back. Like, Julia's got a lot going on, and then she's just not in the next movie. And it's amazing. But boy, they sure did try to be like, yeah, Julia's a character now, and she is going to factor into things going forward.
Maybe not.
Yeah. So I'd say I think quality-wise, I still think 2 is slightly below this, but this is definitely the most boring Mission Impossible. This is
it's the most
boring
just
as hell.
This is an action movie.
It's better but less fun.
Yeah, and it's like we're not saying kind of it's badly made because it's well made. There are action movies out there that are far worse put together.
Yeah.
You know, it's well done. Even if I do agree, there are moments where you have the sort of mid-2000s oversaturation of pretty much everything. Anybody that likes this kind of horror movies, especially their slasher movies around this time, will know the aesthetic and how it is awful, where it's just completely bleached to within an inch of its life. There's a certain amount of that going on.
Fun fact: this is J.J. Abrams' directorial debut too.
Yeah.
Insane.
It is a very good directorial debut. I mean, obviously he'd done Lost, and they went, you know what we should do for his directorial debut? Mission Impossible 3, this small film. What kind of budget should we give him for a directorial debut? I know, according to Wiki, between 150 and 186 million dollars. Like, I saw once James Gunn saying kind of, don't worry about budget, just go out and shoot a film and then you're a film director. And it's like, yeah, but your first film had a budget of like 10 million and your second had a budget of like 150. Shut up about budget. Like, you have absolutely nothing. You know? Imagine the first kind of thing that you're feature film you're directing and you get given $150 million for it. Like, the amount of just like trust you've got to have that he's going to do something decently with that is insane.
Super 8 is his only non-franchise film. Like, just nuts.
Yeah. And I mean, admittedly, he does a lot of kind of producing and writing more than directing, but like, it's still, you know, he did this, he did 2 Star Trek movies, he did the 2 Star Wars movies. It's just like, the man's got some clout in Hollywood, and obviously producing Cloverfield movies.
He got his daughter an album. I mean, what can't he do?
Exactly.
Yeah. So then we go on to Ghost Protocol, which was Brad Bird's live-action directorial debut.
Yeah. And
And
interestingly enough, I think again with this, you can start to see a shift just in tone, in the visuals, in kind of the way everything's put together. And again, this is now coming off the back of the first two Daniel Craig Bond movies.
yeah,
And as much as we did a thing on Bond, as much as we can kind of laugh at Bond or say whatever we want about it, there is a certain thing that when it comes to kind of big action kind of thriller franchises and movies, you do at a certain point always look to Bond because it is the big one. In superhero movies it's Marvel, and these kind of things it is Bond, and people will kind of take stuff from it. And there is a kind of they still have the gadgets, but again they start to move towards sort of soft tech rather than the clunky stuff.
See, I think at this point, I think the Craig Bonds were playing catch up to Mission. I think that kind of reversed at this point. Really, I think this is the just the scale of the stunts are another level compared to Bond at this point. I mean, and just the imagination of some of them really just makes a difference.
And I think Ghost Protocol was the first one I saw in cinema. I think this is the point where everything starts to like the trend that's continued to this day. Kind of the feel of it and the scale of it and everything, and the amazingly recurring everyone is out to get us, we have to do this on our own kind of thing.
This is proto McQuarrie for sure.
I mean, this was my favorite for a long time because I was just the right time for it. I was at uni when this came out, and I saw this in cinema a couple of times, and just seeing that Burj Khalifa scene on the big screen it's just
so I liked the look of it more than J.J. Abrams, but this is very polished. It reminds me of like Marvel movies. It reminds me of the new Mission Impossible, Fast and Furious, like visually.
This looks like a modern blockbuster action movie, and it feels like one.
Yeah. Like for Asia, I thought this was like the iconoclastic kind of installment, because it just times like all the things you expect them to do, they go wrong for various reasons. Most of their gadgets go wrong, don't they? And it's like it's not going to be an easy way out of this. Even the tape, your mission tape, it doesn't self-destruct properly at one point.
I hated that joke, honestly. Like that's one of the first signals for me that I was like, okay. Come on. I want to make a cut of this where it just does it correctly.
Yeah. But it opens up like almost like a Le Carre kind of thriller, doesn't it? This other agent, on the run in is it Budapest? I can't remember now.
And this is the one where you watch it and you go, Jeremy Renner? What are you doing here?
They get reinforcements in this one in the form of Jeremy Renner, who seemingly at the time was possibly set up as a replacement for Hunt further down the line, but that never really happened. And they have Paul Patton in it as well, seemingly because they've got to fight another female agent at one point, and they didn't want Tom Cruise doing that.
So I was expecting Jeremy Renner to betray them. I was surprised that he was just a straight arrow good guy. Straight arrow. But the plot of it is basically, like you said, there's the mission at the beginning with the agent that, he's a guy. And then we get to watch his mission later too. Then Tom Cruise is broken out of prison, and then they need to retrieve MacGuffin to stop supervillain bad guy.
Yeah. I do really like the prison break. I do really like the prison break scene, set to Dean Martin. It's just that's a lot of fun. But even having like a cat fight, towards in the middle, in the building, between Paul Patton and Lea Seydoux. I just love that ends with just being booted out of a window.
There's some great stuff with this, and you start, I think. Strangely enough, this is one of the ones because you get the train bit where they go into the train and you've got like a mini kind of almost like MI6, MI5 kind of headquarters in that train. Yeah. This is
again having to run alongside a train take off trying to hit the eye scanner.
Yeah, but it's just remembering that I think, again, I know obviously kind of the whole thing is that the CIA is kind of, it goes everywhere, but I think that train, strangely enough, is one of the first times we see that things are set up in advance. That because that train almost then is kind of like a sleeper agent waiting for them, rather than we just send you here and things like that. So you kind of have this almost like seedy underbelly, which is always used. It's a bit like what will come later with John Wick, where the thing is already underneath the surface and you kind of tap in and access it, and that kind of gives a sense of the scale opening up as the series goes forward. I mean, the other three films have had their big plots and big plans and world dominations and stuff like that, but they've kind of been a little bit on the silly side. Abrams was more experimental stuff. This kind of, again, starts setting the template for what is to come after.
Because this one, obviously, subtitled Ghost Protocol. The whole premise of this one is that they're even more outside the system than normal. They don't have the infinite resources to tap into, although they still get plenty of gadgets if you think about it.
They have an iPad that fakes just the view in front of you.
That bit in the Kremlin, like, that's the bit I watched that at the cinema. It was like, yep, we don't have kind of, the little, beforehand when you had a timer, you'd have like a little gadget handheld that would count down as a clock. Now everything's on your phone. You just set it to go, and it's all software, and it's an iPad that now works as a screen that makes you invisible and stuff like that.
We finally meet the famous secretary moments before his brains are blown out.
Obviously.
Yep. Nice cameo for Tom Wilkinson.
Yep.
That's where Jeremy Renner comes in, and then one thing I don't like is, like, in that scene, so they need to escape for bad guys who are shooting into the water that they fall into, and so Tom Cruise has a plan. He sends a body with a flare over a way, and he goes, "Why did you do that?" And it's like, you really need to explain that, one, to a CIA analyst, two, to the audience. We know why he did it. We just watched it. Like, it's just little things like that where they're going, oh, let's put in the little quips back and and I just don't like it.
Yeah, but there is a reason. There is a reason for this, and that's mainstream. I'm going to say Hollywood because it sounds slightly insulting when I say American, because it's not all that. But you know what I mean.
It is American.
Mainstream Hollywood blockbusters, again, as I've said before, they have a fear of no dialogue.
Why did they send the guy over there with the flare if he was dead? That was definitely set in the theater.
Well, it's I was just watching again the sixth one before we came on, and there are moments where Tom Cruise is on his own and he's muttering to himself, "Okay, what do I do now? What do I do? Okay, I'll go over here." Like, if you watch a lot of kind of decently produced American studio films, the amount of times a character will kind of go, "Oh shit, oh damn, huh?" and stuff like that, that breaks silence, because it's almost like they've got a fear of having extended periods where people don't say anything when they're on their own. When you've got a character on their own, we don't always talk to ourselves out loud when stuff happens, but they do in these films. And I mention this because this is a thing of mine, because obviously I review novel manuscripts. It's bleeding over into prose, that you have long kind of things with a character walking around like a house on their own, and they'll kick a can on the floor, and they'll insert, it's like, "Oh, didn't see that was there," or so, "Oh crap,
I kicked that can."
It's not that blunt, but you know what I mean. It's just something that happens like all the time, that they have a fear of no dialogue. They have a fear that if you have a character on their own not saying something for 2 minutes at a time, the audience is going to get bored, and it annoys the hell out of me. So just as a plea to anyone out there, can we stop it, please, and go on to the not treating the audience like crap? And I think that why did you do that over there? I did this because this is just a way to fill about 10 seconds of silence.
But just don't have that part in the movie then. Just have them run onto the train and get on, and don't have the silence. Like, you could do anything. It's your movie.
But that wouldn't be as cool. You've got to show them doing secret agency stuff. and cool distraction techniques because they're cleverer and they know the wiles and guiles of the way of the secret agent better than anyone else and can trick the poor dumb other people.
The Burj Khalifa scene is a lot of fun, and the part
So good.
Yeah.
the part where he goes, "We gotta hope they've never met." They then just recycle that for Fallout. Like, that's really lazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
action movies, you can only do so much. You know, the plots are going to be recycled.
Yeah, this whole thing, they're trying to set up an arms deal. They're trying to swap some nuclear codes, aren't they? And the bad guy in this one who's not great, really. It's I mean, very talented
Well,
actor.
I like him.
I couldn't tell you who it was.
William or
It-
Michael.
It's Michael Nyqvist. He's
Thank
he's the lead from Girl with Dragon Tattoo, who's not Noomi Rapace.
Okay.
I like him because he's a super villain. Like, he's not an action hero or bad guy.
He's very much a Bond villain, isn't he? But which kind of, it's hilarious him rolling around with Tom Cruise in the car factory at the end.
It's great.
Yeah.
This balding middle-aged man just versus Tom Cruise.
I think there's the story of the Burj Khalifa thing was that he essentially goes, Tom Cruise goes, can I actually like do it myself and actually go down the Burj Khalifa? And all his stunt guys were like, no way, we're not having you. Hang on to the Burj Khalifa. We'll
bet
get a
you.
stunt double to do it. So Tom Cruise was like, so I fired my stunt guys and got new ones in and asked them the same question. He's just like, I'm going to do it whether you want me to or not.
But there's all kinds of stories about them very careful with their setups and saying, right, we'll just shoot this bit and then get you back in and then we'll have an hour off and then go back out and shoot another 20 minutes. But Tom Cruise never wanted to come back in. He just hung to the outside, just enjoyed the view while the technical crew were like, doing the next setup, basically.
So the part where he climbs up it, Simon Pegg gives him these gloves, and he's like, so if they are blue, they work, and if they turn red, they're not working. I'm like, well, why is there a don't work setting? Like, they should just work.
Yeah.
And I get that it's for tension.
Yeah. And also so you can have the rhyme blue, glue, red, dead.
Why not just use the suction cup things you've always used that don't have a don't work setting?
I mean, the suction cups can still not work, and also I think the whole thing is when you come in, you can turn to red so you don't like clamp to the floor or something along those lines. And also, if you've got them like down, you've got to try to take your hand off to move it up as well. So you do have to turn them off and turn them back on at regular intervals to actually move anything.
I was thinking maybe their battery life is just very, very, very short. I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me other than tension. And then it also took me a minute to realize, why is he even climbing here? Like, I thought we were going to meet people. But no, they do end up explaining that as well. There's also a pre-Fast 9 scene where he has to swing down into the window, which will be later done with cars.
I mean, this is the kind of thing where you look at it and go, you know what they did, don't you? Tom Cruise went, I want a scene where I climb up the Burj Khalifa, and they found a way to have him. He probably wanted to do it for years. I think he actually did.
Throughout the
Can I
series,
get paid?
They've been very public in this series about the fact they come up with the stunts first and write scripts around them.
Yeah.
Which, seemingly it wasn't a good idea, but generally they managed to pull it off. It's.
I do also like the arms deals because so what they have to do is make the same room in two different places where they meet two different people that were supposed to be meeting each other, where one is getting painted diamonds to turn over the codes. And so they have to get the diamonds to send to the person who actually wants the diamonds and take eye pictures of the codes.
Because they got the camera contact lenses, haven't they? That they kind of record the information, but then scramble them for the other side. It's
which the lady clocks immediately. Like she can see his contact lens. So how?
Yeah,
it'd be cool if she had like a zoom contact lens that let her see it.
Yeah. I very much enjoyed Lea Seydoux in this. She needs to play more icy assassins. She's very good at it.
Agree.
And I will say the final kind of stuff. I still am waiting for a car with a sat nav comes up on the screen, on the windscreen. I think it would clear up a lot of things. When I saw that, I'm like, yeah, I want that.
And that's another. I think they did a good job editing that final. Like, we need to get here. We need to get the laptop here, and we need to fix the stuff here. And I thought it was cut together really well.
Yeah.
This movie, for all my dislike of the stupid humor and explainy stuff, is like miles better than 3, in my opinion.
Yeah, and stuff like that, the logistical side of doing everything. I don't think that we kind of realize. I mean, I don't realize it until I have to try and write something stupid like that, where I've got multiple things going on at the same time. How actually difficult it is logistically to keep everything controlled, to move all the pieces around and stuff like that. I did one story ages ago where I had a shootout, and it was kind of like a sort of Guardians of the Galaxy kind of thing, where there's kind of multiple people there. And I had to keep track of like 7 or 8 good guys split up in several groups around the one room in a shootout. And I'm like, I'm kind of having to draw maps at a certain point to keep everything. Who's with who? Who's, okay, I need to get
Dungeons
them over there,
and
so I need to find
Dragons
a way
grids.
to move them around. A lot of the stuff is just completely logistical. And when you've got something like this, you know it's a big climax of an action thriller where there's big stakes. Somebody's racing off in this direction, talking to somebody over there that's doing that, and the bad guy's going over here, and we're trying to time it. And then we've got to edit it all together so that it's not only thrilling, but it's also coherent as well. And this has all got to be thought out months, if not years, before the final edit comes out of how it's going to fit together, because you've got to shoot it and make sure you've got all the footage. It is not easy.
Can I climb the Burj Khalifa? Cool, y'all figure that out.
Yeah. Well, again, just something like this, and this goes for kind of all action movies in general. You've kind of got to. It's an awful lot of we think this might work. And so kind of the fact that it pulls it off as well as it does is a testament to the skill of, again, not just the writer, but the coordinators, of the editors, the directors. There's an awful lot of people that come together to make something seem seamlessly well done.
Script supervisor.
Script supervisor, yeah, and pretty much everyone, even things like the art direction, because if you've got people in different places, you might want them to look visually different in order to differentiate between where people are, and stuff little bits like that, which is actually kind of why it kind of glares when it isn't done well.
Oh,
because
speaking of not done well, throwback to 3, there's a heist scene that J.J. Abrams just does off camera completely. And like, that's dumb. I want to watch Tom Cruise steal things within a time limit, not just kind of be on the outside around it within the time limit.
Runtime.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
And then also the sort of emotional core of this is because he had a wife in the last movie. So the whole time they're going, oh, sorry, y'all broke up. But it turns out Jeremy Renner was supposed to be protecting them. And then Serbians murdered Julia. But then it turns out Serbians didn't murder Julia. And Tom Cruise left her to keep her safe and made everyone think she's dead. It's dumb. Like at this point,
this
just
will
don't
not
mention
come
her.
back as a plot point at any point.
But it's a nice little moment at the end, you know, when they all have that look of understanding, you know.
Yeah.
Hilariously enough, the more famous one will come the year after, where you have the Alfred and Bruce Wayne nod, and they in France or wherever it is.
Yeah. So moving on to 5, Mission
Rogue
Impossible Rogue Nation. And this is where the series just gets really stupid for me, where instead of a villain, it's like, yes, it's a bunch of evil agent villains. And that's just the villains from here on out, as far as I can tell.
Please work out this came out the same year as Spectre.
Are you saying Solomon Lane isn't a villain?
But he's just, I'm anti-IMF. Like, that's all. It would be like if Alec Baldwin was, I mean, well, and whoever was the previous head of IMF before that. Like
Lawrence Fishburne in
yeah,
isn't it?
They just keep changing who's in charge. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in this one, technically, they've not replaced Tom Wilkinson yet because Alec Baldwin's still with the CIA at this point, isn't he? If he comes over to the
Yeah,
IMF.
is Jeremy
But,
Renner the head of the IMF now?
I think he's sort of acting kind of cover, isn't he? He's the substitute teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just I hate this one. I hate the next one. Having now seen all of them, I hate these going forward. I hate McQuarrie. He's the worst.
Okay, this is my favorite of the whole franchise, Rogue Nation. It's just so beautiful to look at. The stunts are so good.
Hanging onto the side of a plane, like. And then,
Yeah. I mean,
this is the underwater holding the breath scene, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think that's my favorite individual stunt of the series. The hang on to the outside of the plane, trying to get Simon Pegg trying to open the right door to let him in.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to film it with goggles. They developed these ultra hard contact lenses to protect his eyes enough so he could open them against the wind. But also, if a piece of grit hit him in the eyeball, it would go straight through to his brain. So.
The goggles are a plot point in 4 where he has them, he needs to hide them, and then he gets to use them in the sandstorm.
Yeah, that's true.
Look, it all plays out well. Yeah.
No, I love Rogue Nation despite the secret network of secret cabal of villains controlling everything. It's a well played out, plot trope, but I don't care. I think it's well done in this.
But I mean, at least they have one kind of singular linchpin there, and again, you've got to remember this is also 2015, so Spectre is doing something very similar, coming out exactly the same year. And you know what? If it took 5 films for Mission Impossible to do it, like at least they didn't do it at the second film. You know what I mean? Like, or it could.
And Rebecca Ferguson's a great addition to the ensemble as well. I mean, kind of because obviously she becomes properly part of the team next time, but in this one she's still a bit. She's like a rogue agent herself, isn't she? And just playing all sides.
She's in deep cover. She's a good guy pretending to be a bad guy who gets to sometimes pretend to be a good. I don't know. She's good ultimately, but
she's doing the dirty jobs for MI5 because they've got dirt on her basically.
Is it MI5 or MI6? Which one is it?
One's internal, one's external. I think MI5 is internal, MI6 is external.
Okay, so she's MI6.
So MI5 is your FBI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Possibly.
Because FBI is domestic, CIA is foreign.
MI5 focuses on domestic security.
Is there an MI4?
MI6 is overseas.
Is the MI for Mission Impossible?
Yes.
There is an MI4, or it was established as a section of the Directorate of Military Intelligence.
MI1 was just like a really smart guy that the Queen knew, like in the 1500s. The only intelligent.
By the way,
it does actually sound just for military intelligence. So
yeah. It is funny though, having seen Nosferatu fairly recently, having Ilsa's handler as the guy who bites heads off pigeons. He's got range.
I will admit, again, apologies. I only had time to rewatch one of them. Recently, that was Fallout. So the last time I actually saw this one was as part of a double bill midnight screening at Fallout's release. So you're going to have to. I remember it being very good, but I couldn't tell you what kind of happens other than Sean Harris is in it, and he was. It took me ages because I was like, where do I know him from? And then I looked at him. I'm like, oh, okay, he's the guy in Prometheus.
Well, Kieran,
that's where I know him from.
I can tell you what happens. Tom Cruise is on a mission, or sorry, Ethan Hunt. He's on a mission to, I don't know, retrieve something. And so he does, and he goes to a record store, and they do the Mission Impossible thing, but they're like, "Ha, psych, we're the bad guys. So your mission is you're gonna die," and he gets gassed, and this lady gets shot by Solomon Lane. But he's like, "Who is this guy? I remember his face. I'm gonna draw it later." By the way, that's a fun little undercurrent, is that Ethan Hunt's really good at just drawing police sketches. He does it at another one on his hand. But yeah, he does that, and then he's captured by bad guys, and then he escapes because of Rebecca Ferguson.
I mean, I do love that line about it's like, can you pull an ID from a sketch? Because can most people know? But I can.
And also,
I do remember a lot of it takes place kind of in London, sort of at night, sort of thing. In that way, for some reason, it feels very much. Is it? One of the Fast and Furious is like 5 or 6 or 4. It has a lot of stuff in the same kind of area.
5, 6. No, 6. Sorry,
I'm asking
6.
5. Yeah, 5's in Rio.
With Luke Evans sort of thing.
Yes, that's that kind of thing. Yeah.
The one where Letty's bad.
You do get a kick-ass opera house scene, as all opera house scenes are. You know, they're always great. You know, basically, there are no bad opera house scenes or bad train scenes in films. Basically,
it's true.
They always
and it has both. Just
Arrival of a train. Also, in the Bone Doctor scene, when you see that he is handcuffed to a pole that has a no top. That is connected to nothing, you know he's going to climb up that pole, and he does. That's the incredible thing about Ethan Hunt. It's not his strength for how tiny he is; it's his dexterity and acrobatics. Like, the dude is incredible.
It's almost like he's incredible for plot purposes.
I love in the first movie he does like close up sleight of hand magic. Like he needs to do more of that.
So do you think the reason Ilsa is shown so often taking her impractical shoes off in this is because Bryce Dallas Howard got so much grief for it in Jurassic World the year before? I think
it's because Christopher McQuarrie's been hanging out with Quentin Tarantino.
Same year.
Is it same year, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember when the Jurassic World films came out.
They're about 2015.
He compliments the shoes too. He's like, "Ooh, I like your shoes," and I'm like, "What's the point of that? Like, what? Why did he say that to her?" I don't think it ever comes back. I don't think it's like because they're secret shoes with like guns in them. No, he's just like, "Oh, I like your shoes. Thanks."
Yeah, just on that point, literally Jurassic World came out a month and a half before.
Okay, fair enough. It's coinky dink then.
I am shocked, like, because they had Renner. I'm shocked they didn't try and get like Scarlett Johansson just to get another Avenger in it.
Who would ever do that? Yeah.
Basically, what they need to do at the opera is stop an assassination with musical instrument guns, which is fun.
I mean, if that's not Hitchcock. Like proper 39 steps kind of thing. I don't know what is.
And the way Rebecca Ferguson is shot during this, in the yellow dress, in profile with the rifle, it's something else. But there's also a reason for it to be shot that way. But we'll come on to it in the next film. We're going to come back to that.
Obviously.
Well, they do go to London, and it turns out that the MI6 started the syndicate, and we find that out because Tom Cruise wears a mask pretending to be the head of MI6, and the Prime Minister says, "Didn't I tell you not to start the evil rogue agent syndicate?" And Tom Cruise says, "You did
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yes. Yes. Of course, I've heard of the syndicate. Of course, I've heard of Solomon Lane. Wait a minute.
Wait a second.
Have you been a bad boy, Mr. MI6?
It would have been great if that was the point where like a Harry Potter wizard comes through and bad time.
I do find it funny how quickly Alec Baldwin does come around to their point of view very quickly. It's a very quick.
He does.
There's no real
Oh,
conflict
'cause
there. It's like he hates them all every scene. Next time they see each other, it's like, well, you guys have been busy. It's like, oh, I believe you now. All right, I'm on your
Again,
side.
please note that obviously Skyfall had come out 3 years earlier, where you have that same kind of thing with Voldemort, or what's his name, Ralph Fiennes. just completely lost it then. Like
Voldemort takes polyjuice potion to pretend.
Sorry, I meant
the
Pope. You know.
Yeah.
I also in this movie, this is another one where, we think Ethan Hunt's the bad guy for no reason. I think they say I don't know if it's this one or the next one where they say he's an arsonist and a firefighter at the same time. Like he's just trying to justify.
It's this one, yeah.
Yeah, justify IMF's existence by creating problems. And it's like, guys, how do you not know that he's the goodest good guy to ever good guy at this point? Do you not have that in your file? Do you not have that in your psychological tests?
Yeah. There is actually a name for that. I just double checked and it is true. It's called hero syndrome. Where you firefighters like occasionally do that, where you kind of start fires in order to go in and say that. So it is.
There's always that debate. There's always that debate with Batman, isn't there? And his rogues gallery. It's like, would there be supervillains in Gotham if Batman wasn't there? Probably not. They'd just be random goons. And
also, welcome to the plot of like the first 2 series of Sherlock.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Honestly, I was just so zoned out in this movie. And then the next movie is basically the exact same for me. And I don't mind that I didn't watch 7, because I'm sure it's the exact same thing again, where they think Tom Cruise is the bad guy and there's bad agents. Am I correct?
Yeah,
is that the plot of 7?
Not as much from what I remember.
Okay.
6. Again,
No. 7 is when they really lean into the whole AI threat in a big way.
Evil AI. Yeah. Which is really interesting.
AI agent. Got it.
And looks fun. But yeah, no, 6 I saw at a midnight screening on kind of release night, and maybe it's something, I said this before about the context of seeing a film and all the other things around it, but I saw it and it came out and I went, that is as near flawless a Mission Impossible movie as you're going to get. I absolutely loved it, and watching it again just now, probably don't rate it as highly, but it's still very good MI movie.
We've done 5 yet. I love it, but to be honest, we've talked about lots of Mission Impossible films. By now we need to. Even for me, the sides blur into one. Yeah, it does. Yeah. He's sort of like the Hannibal Lecter in this, isn't he? He's in a box most of the film.
Because he's the goodest of the goodest cipher ever to good cipher.
Yeah. So this
with an American accent, obviously.
Yeah. So since Alec Baldwin moved over to the IMF, now Angela Bassett is head of the CIA, and she basically sets her attack dog on Ethan Hunt, and that latches Agent Walker onto their team. And what I love about Henry Cavill in this, apart from his moustache, is Walker. He's a fascinating little puzzle box, because he's quite crafty, and he kind of pulls wool over his eyes, and he's scheming, and he gets away with a lot of stuff. But he's also quite stupid.
Yes.
In the moments, isn't he? What Angela Bassett said, you like to use a scalpel. I've always been more of a fan of a hammer.
Yeah.
There are moments where you go, is kind of the momentary stupidity part of a ploy to hide how crafty he's being, or is he just a bit of just Henry Cavill with muscles going sledgehammer and stuff?
Because there is that moment where he realizes he's been played. He realizes there's a mask, involved, and but it's kind of interesting. Kind of keeps on toes like that.
Well, so
obviously,
we should say Henry Cavill is the bad guy at the end, which
one of.
one of. Also, you need to have watched the other Mission Impossibles because Julia is in this one, and it's like, why? Why did you bring back this character again? Don't do that. Just have other things.
Because we need to show how Sean Harris is being crafty and manipulative, right at the end. Because the thing is, by film 5, they're like, well, going into 6, they're like, Ethan Hunt hasn't got a proper supervillain yet. So this is their way to make one. Let's use the one from the previous installment. Again, bearing in mind, obviously, actually, no, thinking about it, no, they're not going to do that. But yeah, head of a kind of the Syndicate, head of Spectre. This is obviously meant to be a kind of Blofeld-y kind of character.
He runs a cult.
And there's only two. And there's only 2 recurring villains in the whole franchise, and it's Solomon Lane in 5 and 6, and Gabriel in 7 and 8. So he has like 2 arch villains in the whole series. It's kind of interesting.
Which is actually, you know what, it's fairly nice for a series to do that, where it's only kind of these kind of pairings that you have to kind of watch together. The others you can just dip and dive into, and I guess sort of actually realistically, therefore, the only ones that you need to have watched previous ones are 6 and 8 because you watched 5 and 7 on their own,
and 3. All right, you need to have seen 3 to understand everything in 6.
Who Julia is?
Yes.
I mean, they do have a bit of explanations as you go through.
It's still like they have the wedding at the beginning, and I'm like, this is I don't remember this from my theater watch, and I probably was just like, what is happening? I'll forget this entirely. But
I don't remember either.
Henry Cavill, he gets to also do the. I think that Tom Cruise is a bad guy. Now he's doing it purposefully, so I guess it's bucking the trope a little bit. But when you're watching it, you're going, "Come on, dude. We the audience know that Tom Cruise is not the bad guy. Can we just can we give up on trying to paint him as the bad guy, please?"
This film's got my favourite Tom Cruise running scene where he's going through London and across the bridge and everything, because it's nice to see him run through an area that I know quite well. I know that bit of London really well, and just been across that bridge multiple times, obviously not over the top of it. And this infamously is where he jumps between 2 parts of the roof. That's where he broke his foot. You can see him kind of hobble slightly off camera when he gets up from that.
Again,
it's also,
we never doubt his commitment.
In 5, he does a running scene and he looks very silly doing it. It's ridiculous. Like his run.
Tom Cruise has
silly.
a very particular run. At a certain point, you just go.
I think
it's Tom Cruise.
I think his silliest ones in Ghost Protocol, where he's running out of the hospital.
That's it.
Barefoot.
Yes. Or running. Maybe it was running away from the explosions. Looked silly to me. But that's also Ghost Protocol.
Also, with this, you've got the kind of Arc de Triomphe kind of chase, which will set up John Wick 4 doing it a few years later. Because obviously now we're going between those two.
The goodest of good guy scenes in this is when Ethan won't kill any police officers in his quest to extract the terrorist, because they say, you got to get Solomon Lane for us and we'll give you the plutonium. And he's like, well, I can't shoot. I mean, I will shoot police officers. I'm John Lark. I'm a bad guy. Which he says in front of John Lark, who is Henry Cavill. Which, by the way, is that an alias for him, or is that his real name is John Lark? I don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah, don't know, don't care. Is his real name August Walker, or is it John Lark?
So we've still got obviously we've mentioned briefly Vanessa Kirby as a White Widow, who is their contact, who is the who is the buyer, or sorry, not the buyer, the broker for the sale of the plutonium
at the nightclub.
Yeah, she has a lot of fun flirting outrageously with Tom Cruise.
She turns invisible too. That was really weird. Cause she's in Fantastic Four, guys.
Boom.
Oh.
No, it's thinking about it. She steps in after Jeremy Renner has left the series, and she's the White Widow, not the Black Widow. There's obviously nothing there at all.
Yeah. Yeah, so the main action scenes in this, there's a cool sky
Halo jump.
kind of jump for a storm, which is basically like the same scene in Godzilla but without the flares.
Yeah, and that's where
it's got the singular joy of Henry Cavill acting all cocky and then gets struck by lightning straight away.
Yes, and then waking up and going, "Oh, you lost your oxygen, stupid." Which again, he has to be playing up a character, like the character in the movie.
Yeah. I will say also that in terms in regards to fist fights and stuff like that, the bathroom fight
is amazing.
Is amazing, and I do like the whole they do little things with the characters. So Henry Cavill,
everything with Tom Cruise is little.
Yeah, obviously. He uses the briefcase to smash the guy's face in, and then they come to use it to get his face, and it's broken, so they can't use it.
It's three very physically different guys with very different fighting styles, and they all get knocked down. They all get kind of put through the ringer and seriously injured. I mean, and it's nice that they actually acknowledge Tom Cruise may not be the best fighter in that room, and he is struggling to get back up again. And
well, he's old at that point, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's getting on a bit.
And of course, the infamous bicep reloads,
Yeah.
Well, and Cavill, I mean, he's Superman. Like, it is a little unrealistic to me that he doesn't just beat the crap out of, even if this guy knows, like, I'm assuming he knows martial arts because he's
Have you seen him? He obviously knows martial arts.
Yeah, he's quite a big martial arts performer. I'm sure I've seen him in other action movies before. He's been around, yeah.
But like, I don't know. This guy's literally Superman right now. He is filming himself as in a CGI mustache cameo as Superman. Like, I just don't buy that he's getting beat up.
Yeah.
That's why you have to lose yourself in the story of the film.
Now, this is working entirely off my memory, but after he reveals he's a bad guy, they go to like some mountainous region. Where do they go to?
Yeah, it's in Kashmir.
Yes, Kashmir, where
where Led Zeppelin is not playing.
Well, there's like an aid camp, isn't there? But it's also where it's hiding out.
Julia and her doctor husband volunteer there for.
Oh, hi, Wes Bentley. Not seen you in years.
Is that the guy
what are you
she's
doing
with?
Here? Apparently, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Is that the guy she's with in 4?
Yes.
Okay.
No. I don't think he's been in the franchise before this.
Okay.
But just say as an actor, he used to be in everything in like the early to mid 2000s, and then he just disappeared off the face of the earth, and now he's in things again now.
Oh, I forgot they had Wolf Blitzer come in for like a Mission Impossible bit, and it's like
for a fake out. Yeah.
They're letting reporters in on this.
Yeah, let's all praise, thankfully, that they do bring back the set room interrogation trick from it only been seen in the first one, I think, or the second one.
Only the first one.
Yeah, and they bring it back, and you initially kind of go, "I'm not doing this, are you?" And then, even though it's kind of bringing it back, it just brings a smile to your face. It's like it's the old trick, but it's still good. Like,
but they had to bring in a celebrity reporter on it. Like, that's absurd.
What, in order to shoot it, or in order to?
In story, the IMF said, "Okay, so we're gonna Wolf Blitzer. We're gonna debrief you. You're gonna have to keep this very secret. Reporter. You're gonna not go tell anybody about." No, that's
well,
dumb.
it's Simon Pegg, isn't it?
Oh, that's right. It's him in a mask. Never mind.
Yeah,
they cleared up all my issues. I forgot it was him in a mask.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Few.
And at the end, Tom Cruise has flown things before in his part, but we haven't seen him in a helicopter before. Oh, now we have. So yeah, it's a big old helicopter fight at the end.
Is that a real
which
crash?
again came back, which
It probably
which
wouldn't
again probably came about as I'm going to say, I haven't flown a helicopter on film before. Make that happen.
Yeah, and again, seeing this on the big screen at like 1:30 in the morning, it did something to it because it was a big scale film. The kind of whole thing is big and grand, and it just hit me, full force, and it's just like this is what a proper action blockbuster should be on the big screen. It works really well.
I just wish the villains were small. Like I just wish it was individuals again doing their, and I guess you can argue Solomon Lane is an individual running a syndicate of terrorist disciples, but still
they're now apostles. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, apostles. I just would rather have a real supervillain with a small team.
Yeah, rewatching it this week, I completely forgotten they don't actually kill off Solomon Lane. Again, he's just put back in his box.
Unlike Tom Cruise, he is at large.
Yeah.
Well, Lord, he is large.
Yeah. I'm the same height as Tom Cruise. I can make short jokes.
Okay.
It's nice seeing what would I look like if I was buffing on camera. My arms would look tiny. That's how they would look.
It is weird seeing him stood next to Henry Cavill because it's like, oh, there's somebody that should have played Jack Reacher next to somebody who did play Jack Reacher.
They do a lot of camera tricks that you don't always notice how short he is, but like you know it. Every scene, you know it.
Like, have you ever seen the on-set pictures of the Avengers films, that way between takes, and you see Downey sitting next to Chris Evans, and you see how high Downey's lifts are. You can see his shoes. It's just because he's Tom Cruise height as well. So.
Oh, that's amazing. Good to know.
Even things like Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth, where it's kind of Chris Hemsworth is meant to be big, but they have to give Natalie Portman like extra things so that they can at least make the height gap not like a foot in height.
Back in the original Star Wars trilogy, they generally struggled to get Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford in the same shot because there's literally a foot's difference in their heights.
Yeah, I think there's also a thing with Tom Holland and Zendaya because Zendaya is taller than Tom Holland. Tom Holland's meant to be like the male superhero with the female protecting, so they have to like put him on a ramp or a box, in a couple of shots. Anyway, that's Fallout, and then we get to Dead Reckoning Part 1. This will never get completed in this.
Yeah,
what is Part 2?
I think has been retitled just Dead Reckoning now, which is probably what they should have done all along, really.
Yeah.
On the original poster, it is very, very small, at least.
Yeah, and this is probably their most globe-trotting adventure of the series. They're bouncing around all over the place, and the stunts were never more ambitious, and the plot never more outlandish at the time. But it is about an AI taking over everything. So it's not necessarily that outlandish now.
And I will say that obviously the bit with the AI kind of reveals itself. Where does that take place? In a nightclub. Thank you, John Wick. It continues everything, and now has to have a nightclub scene in it, a nightclub fight. This is how it works.
Does the AI hallucinate very often? Because, like, I don't know. I feel like it's unrealistic if the AI is just making things up as it goes along.
I mean, that's what an AI does, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very aggressive AI. Basically, it doesn't trust humanity with how we've been doing up to date, up to present day. It feels like it could do a better job itself, essentially. And it's got like a human stooge called Gabriel, who's a figure from Ethan's past who killed his original wife girlfriend back in the day and framed him from it, which made him join the IMF. Basically, they gave him a choice: join the IMF or go to prison for that crime you didn't do.
Great.
It seemed to work. I love this one, and the thing I remember. Well, I remember two things about this kind of most of all. One, I remember them chucking a train off an actual bridge in the Lake District somewhere, wasn't it? I can't remember exactly where they chucked it off.
Yeah,
that they did.
yeah. The Lake District's standing in for somewhere in Europe because it's meant to be the Orient Express, isn't it?
Yeah, is it the same kind of place where they did Indy 5, the opening for Indy 5 with its bridge?
Probably, yeah. I
Yeah,
would imagine so. Yeah.
roughly somewhere, yeah. And also, I remember really liking Pom Clementoff's character. Is it Paris, I think?
Paris, yeah,
Yeah.
a near silent French assassin, yeah.
Yes.
She is back in the final one, and she does get to say a few more things
Well, even after being
exclusively.
killed off in the 7th film.
Well, it's hinted that she's not dead, isn't it? You know, she's kind of they're lingering. The CSI guys are lingering around for a long time. So
Yeah.
yeah, no,
In the same way of
she got better from her apparent death.
yeah, a bit like Hayden Panettiere in Scream 4. Justice for Kirby comes back.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think. I mean, the train scene is obviously actually fantastic, and just the way it escalates and escalates, and you know, in past point we think this can't get more ridiculous or extreme. It goes another level, and it just
yeah,
keeps amping up, which I love. And obviously, there's the bike jump off a mountain into a parachute glide, which is incredible. But I think my favourite action scene in this is the silly little car chase in Rome. You know, in the Fiat.
yeah. And I mean, again, they've had silly little car chases in Italy before. I'm looking at you, Spectre, where James Bond gets stuck behind the guy in the Fiat and he's trying to get away from the bad guys.
Yeah, but just the idea that so that him and Grace that they're chained together but on the wrong side, so she's got to do the driving, and Tom Cruise sort of awkwardly kind of got his hands crossed over.
And I
what
will
does
say
Vanessa Kirby do here, by the way?
She's working for the AI, isn't she?
No, she's not. She's kind of caught up in the plot. She's again. I think she's there to, again. She's a broker again, but she's there to buy the key for the AI for the.
I knew it was something to do with that, and she's working like that.
And they bring the mask back for the scene. So what Hayley Atwell, Grace, got to do, she's got to pretend to be Vanessa Kirby. So which makes basically you've Vanessa Kirby in brown contacts. So you know it's meant to be Hayley Atwell in a mask of Vanessa Kirby.
That's fun.
No, you were talking about the whole thing through the streets and the car, and they're on different sides and things like that. It made me think, and I think I remember thinking this when I was watching it, that it was very kind of not similar to, but got similar vibes to. There's a big kind of sequence like that in Indiana Jones 5. Where it's kind of the steps in Italy, and they have a big car chase with Indiana Jones and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, which is the same set of steps, which again, same year before, was done in Fast X with the big things rolling down.
Fast X. It's the same steps again, and neither film could actually film on those steps because they're like really precious ancient architecture. So basically, they had to film, do their plate shots, and then recreate them in studios. I think on both accounts.
Did they go?
The Indiana Jones ones was in Morocco, by the way.
Did they go back
Marrakesh because it's cheaper?
Yes.
Did they go back to the Vatican in this film, because they've been to the Vatican in Mission Impossible before?
They're in Venice, I think.
Okay.
In this one,
because the Fast X one's in the Vatican.
Yeah, it's that one is there. Indiana Jones is there. It's just the whole idea of being in a kind of a weird little car with the main character and the female character, and there's kind of almost a comedic moment escape.
Yes,
it felt very similar.
So it's Venice for the club scene, and then the chase through the winding streets and canals, isn't it? And then
you have the fights with the
and then the shot and then a shot character to death.
Well, and then also Fallout has like a weird small car, that BMW that he drives in. Before, look,
European cars are generally a lot smaller and less powerful.
That's true,
and not as big kind of thing. Well, the thing was in the 50s, kind of in the after-war years, kind of the US, because it kind of got off relatively unscathed, and most of Europe had essentially was not unscathed. America essentially managed to manufacture. Well, the thing is, it was something like by 1952 or something like that, 90% of the world's white goods was manufactured in the US, essentially because the US had the resources to do it. So what you had is an awful lot of money and wealth. So you could build these ridiculously kind of large, extravagant cars for no reason. In Europe, where you've got large populations in these kind of cities with sort of older, winding streets, and you can't afford these things, a lot of the cars are very small, like Citroen 2CVs, even the Volkswagen Beetle to a certain extent. So you have all these jokes, and now the Fiat 500. So you have all these kind of jokes when you get into these really small cars in these American blockbuster films, and everyone over here is like, that's a normal sized car.
That's normal.
Which is the joke.
But that Fiat is ridiculous. I mean, it's like the size of a shoe.
I'd love to see a European roll coal in a giant truck. Like,
yeah. I mean, there's why. Is it in the remake of like the Pink Panther where he's in a smart car, or is it Johnny English in a smart car? I think, or something like that.
I think it might be Johnny English.
Johnny English, yeah. It just happens, you know.
Yeah. So I'm going to come back to my Rebecca Ferguson thing that I alluded to earlier on. So the scene in the opera house, you know, she's shot from the side in darkness, and it's all very cool and everything. That wasn't just for aesthetic reasons, and it becomes clear in this. So she's early on, she's hiding out in the desert, shooting mercenaries with a sniper rifle, and she's wearing an eye patch, not to cover up an injury or anything like people presumed when they saw her in the trailer. But apparently, Rebecca Ferguson is unable to wink. She can't close one eye at once, so she wears an eye patch so she can look down the the scope of the rifle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and a lot of people saying, but you must use a rifle in the fifth film. Sure, you could close my eyes. But if you look at it again, you don't see both my eyes at the same time. So, and she demonstrates in an interview. She can't close one of her eyes at once. She has to blink both her eyes. So they gave her an eye patch to make her look cool, but also to make it so she could look down the scope of sniper.
I was going to say there is also the thing of making her look cool. That is not.
Why not just close both eyes? One is in the scope. You can't see that it's closed.
Yeah.
you might be able to see from kind of the muscles around the side, and also
you can CGI that though.
And look, we know CGI and this kind of stuff is never going to be good. If they throw a whole train off a flipping bridge, they're not going to resort to CGI for that. And also, you get to give Rebecca Ferguson an eye patch.
That's true, yeah.
And also, in 6, what she's doing is she's trying to kill Solomon Lane and like make up for her crime. So what is her goal here?
Well, she's not like on the run anymore as such, is she? She's cleared her name. She's more as part of the team this time, I'd say. So she's on the same mission as everyone else.
The impossible.
What else is there in this? There's a scene in an airport in is it UAE or is it Dubai? I can't remember. Yeah. But yeah, a big airport basically, which they arrived and they'd some Saudi prince basically offered them a whole like terminal of an airport that hadn't been finished yet to film in, so they made maximum use out of that.
You might as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of Middle Eastern money in these later films. You know, they do tend to shoot at least one scene per film in that kind of area. Yeah.
I also see the name Kittredge in the Wikipedia article. Is this the same Kittredge?
He's back. Yes, it is. Yes.
How old is he?
Kittredge comes back. Henry Cerny, he'll be in his early 70s, I would think. Early to mid-70s.
Yeah. Something along those lines.
Okay. Yeah, I thought he would be older.
So he's basically back to be a thorn on Ethan's side again, and he hasn't forgotten what he did at the CIA 20 years earlier.
More than that, I'm looking down again. I hadn't got the time to rewatch this one, although I will do before I go into number 8 at some point. And I'd forgotten that both Carrie Elwes is in this as one of the heads of directors, and not only that, for my kind of little pride,
Mark Gatiss.
Mark Gatiss is there as well. It's like, hey, we've got the BBC horror guy.
Is Carrie Elwes playing a British person, or does he have an American accent here?
He's got an American accent. He's one of the CIA guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at he doesn't look
Sorry,
at the
fellas.
screen and go,
never as good.
for once, I have the correct
By
accent.
the way, again, not really a spoiler, but I'm going to mention it anyway. In the new one, Cary Elwes is in it for one shot. Literally, he doesn't have lines. He comes through a door, and that's it. That's all he's in it for. So.
Okay. Guys, I've actually secretly been faking this American accent this whole time, but I'm not going to show you my real accent.
More for you, we've been faking our accents.
Oh my god.
Are you really South African?
What?
I'm not even going to attempt that. No, it's actually I hate to tell you this, really do. It's actually a Taiwanese accent.
Nice. Not
Which
surprised.
you will never hear.
Yeah, moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens when I don't watch the movie.
Haley Atwell's a really good addition, like I say, because Grace is a pickpocket, who just meets Ethan by chance, and so she kind of brings her skill sets to the team, but she's not a fighter, she's very improvisational, and she kind of brings kind of a different kind of element to things, which is kind of makes me annoyed when they try to turn her into a bit of an action star, in the next film. But anyway, so. It's the biggest. Actually, no, I think the last one might be even longer. I was going to say it's the longest. Actually, I need to check which one was longer. They're both just shy of 3 hours. So yeah, and neither of them probably quite need to be that length.
And
but,
were they shot?
There's plenty of bang for your buck.
Were they shot back to back like Wicked?
They were, but then they had to shut down completely for a while. So yeah, they sort of did 1.5 back to back, and then came back and changed, what the second film was going to be essentially.
Sam, can you tell that from watching the 8th film?
You can tell it's been retooled, yeah, and they're very keen in the first third to recap what's come before as well, just in case people have forgotten. So, which it gets a little bit annoying, but once that kind of gets up to speed, then
is there a scene where they show a flashback to the first movie, so you know who Kittredge is, or like Tom Cruise has a dream about him or something like that?
Shown on an AI screen.
You do see you do get a rapid montage of his previous adventures, which kind of picks up on all of the previous films. So.
Well, it's coming to a close, isn't it? So this kind of cycle.
So hang on. Okay, so
a final
Dead
reckoning, if you will.
Yes.
Dead Reckoning was 163 minutes, and the Final Reckoning is 170 minutes. So the Final Reckoning is 7 minutes longer.
Yeah. And by the way, do you want to know something very slightly worrying and on topic? This was posted yesterday on The Independent. I've just seen, very much in keeping with the AI thing of this. OpenAI's latest ChatGPT model ignores basic instructions to turn itself off, and even sabotaging a shutdown mechanism in order to keep itself running.
Nice.
Yeah.
We were all warning this.
You know what?
It's actually happening.
What I'm really excited for is when Tom Cruise dies and he signs over his rights to the Mission Impossible franchise to do AI and CGI Tom Cruise forever.
What? And so the AI bad guy in these movies brings back Ethan Hunt, and he does like an opposite of Terminator.
Yes.
He's now a bad guy instead of a good guy.
I think they'll really make it so the entity, the AI in this is the hero, and Ethan Hunt is the antagonist, trying to subjugate him.
He's the consummate good guy from the AI's perspective now. Like.
Yeah, so obviously the final one, and it is the final one, has cap off the series, at least for the foreseeable anyway, has just come out. So picks up on most of the plot points in this, but also being a grand finale, refers back to previous things. Picks up a couple of plot elements from earlier films that were never quite resolved, or they were left ambiguous, which is kind of interesting. Retcons a couple of things unnecessarily, in my opinion. It takes a while to get going. But once you get to the action scenes, two main actions in this are a submarine scene and a biplane scene that are both incredible. They really are.
What does it retcon?
I'm not going to say they're both spoilers.
Oh man,
There's two minor things.
John Voight didn't die.
His name isn't Ethan Hunt.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything, but yeah, they're both.
Julia wasn't a nurse.
They're not like fatal or anything. They're just annoying. That it's like they didn't need to add those like extra little bits for me.
I will say,
and as well as Kittredge coming back. Again, this has been the marketing, so it's not a spoiler. They bring Donlow back as well, the guy in the vault who they give food poisoning to in the first film. He's back, and guess what? It's not even a cameo. He's in it more than you think he's going to be. So.
Yeah, and he's pissed.
So what we're saying is this is both rounding off a series and it's a legacy sequel.
Love that.
Much, yeah.
Also hate that.
I actually hold that thought, Karen. I'm going to have to add that to my review now.
It's a legacy sequel. Yeah. I will say very quickly. I think the thing that I did like that I just remembered about Dead Reckoning is there's a moment where Benji has to solve he finds a bomb essentially and has to solve a load of answers in order to stop it whilst everything else is going on and Tom Cruise is racing around doing Tom Cruise. And there's a bit where because it's actually rare if anybody gets attacked kind of from an emotional personal point of view in these films, it's always Ethan Hunt and everyone else is just a minor character. But there's a bit where he opens it up and the thing says something like "Hello Benji" or something like that. And there's this bit where Simon Pegg just like, "Oh my god, it knows my name," and it's one of the rare times where it's a personal attack, and you realise kind of that Benji isn't just there. He is also a character with her own family life and stuff like that.
Yeah. The AI knows everything about them all, and it will use that information against them to kind of tear the team apart, which is kind of a scary concept. Yeah,
and it's just that in all the other films, kind of again, a lot of the characters, even Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg are just kind of there to come back, and they've got characteristics. When I remember seeing that in the cinema and thinking, for the first time, I actually kind of realised that Benji's meant to be a person. If that makes sense, and it's a direct attack on somebody that isn't Ethan Hunt because he's the main character. It's let's target these other characters, and for once, let's have some kind of humanity.
And obviously, it really shakes him up. And I was reading an interview a while back about this, and that scene went through several iterations because they all kind of theorized, well, maybe Benji's got a bit of a dark past. Maybe he's had like suicidal thoughts or mental problems with the mental health in the past, and it's like. Tack into that, and they did generally consider it's like, well, how far do we get into this? Is the entity like going to tell him to kill himself or something like that? And it's they brought it back a bit from that, made it a bit more vague, but just a general threat. It knows enough about me. It can use that information against me. So I think that they definitely arrived at the right kind of way to pitch that scene. I think the right tone for it, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, this is probably one of the things that people have issues with. That sort of a lot of these characters are just kind of there. There's no backstory or anything like that. One of the advantages with that is you don't have whole just sections dredging in a backstory, which is kind of not necessary because we all know that everyone has kind of tragic backstories in these films. And what we actually want is to get to the action. That's what we actually want, and it dispenses with those. But this is really interesting because it does it in a very nice, subtle way that gives you just enough to feel that there's something more, but doesn't dredge it so much to distract from anything else. And that's just the right balance.
One of my favourite kind of running threads in this series, in the latter half of the series, is Benji having to direct Ethan. Whatever he's doing, whether he's running, whether he's riding, whether he's on something really fast. Just kind of feed him constant real time information like where he's going and stuff like that. But he so often just makes a small but crucial mistake, like when he's running across London in Fallout, and it's like well. You can just go across the street. Oh, so I'm in 2D. You're up on the roof, aren't you?
Yeah.
and like in this one, you're not realizing, kind of trying to get to the train, kind of directing him up a mountain and stuff, and it just He gets kind of he gets frustrated at Ethan kind of complaining at him, making it difficult for him. He's like, I'm doing the best I can with what I've got from my laptop. It's it's nice. So.
Beautiful.
Just before we wrap up, one thing I want to make this rapid fire if we can. I mean, your answer to these two questions may be the same. I don't know. But just go around each of us. I want you to name your favourite scene from the series and your favourite stunt from the series.
I don't know if I have a favorite stunt. Like, I wasn't fully sure what was stunt and what was like, put together like through, filmmaking.
Yeah.
But my favorite scene is anytime somebody takes their face off in a crucial moment. It's always the best.
Yeah.
It's and I think in particular too when they say, "Oh, Tom Cruise, we have you now. I'm going to show you how my gun gets off." Bang, 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 bang. Oh no, the pinky. Oh no, that was my friend.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And admittedly, I do like at the start of number 2 where they do a switcheroo, where it's somebody pretending to be Tom Cruise, rather than the other way around, which is a really interesting kind of switch up for that.
Okay, so Jake's favourite scene is all of Mission Impossible 2, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. When he kicks the gun up in the air to turn around and shoot Doug Ray Scott, that's my favorite stunt.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I actually, strangely enough, I like the running across the rooftops in Fallout, and I don't know why. It's just such a simple kind of.
It's really good. Yeah.
One person absolutely gunning it, breathless.
And when it transitions into an office, and they're all watching him, and one offers him a chair, to throw out the window so he can carry on running.
I definitely have not nicked ideas and bits from that for my own stuff at all. Definitely not. It's not something I would ever think of.
Hey,
you're stealing from the best.
I like a good old-fashioned foot chase. And it's being able to make a foot chase which is interesting and good at the same time, which is quite hard. And it's playing with the elevation and stuff like that, so I quite like.
Right. My favourite scene is the Burj Khalifa climb because it's just amazing, and I'll never not have my heart pounding during that scene. I think it's so well put together and just impressive. But my favourite stunt.
How high up did he do that, by the way? Did he do it pretty high, or was he just like on the first couple levels?
I mean, there are photographs of him sat on top of the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah. It's about. I mean, I think where it is within the story, it's pretty much where they did the stunt. So it's like two-thirds of the way up the building, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. And my favourite stunt he's ever done is hanging onto the outside of the cargo plane at the start of Rogue Nation. I think it's just simple, but not simple, but simple idea, but incredibly difficult to pull off. And I'm amazed.
Hang off the side of a cargo plane by your hands,
And he did it about 3 or 4 times, I think, just to get the shot.
I will say that although I really like just the run across the rooftops, I still think the vault drop is. I think that's the best scene.
That's probably the best scene in the series. Even Burj Khalifa is my favourite scene.
Yeah. So good.
Nice. Okay, well, there you go. That's our entire Mission Impossible series coverage, including a little bit of 8, even though it only came out 4 days ago and only one of us has seen it.
I was going to say, we thought it was an impossible mission, but we managed it.
Yeah, it was only difficult, it turns out. Let's see. So, do you have, I guess those are our final thoughts. So, we'll be back next week with something else. But until then, guys, where can people find you?
You can find me at SSP Thinks Film and at the Second Cut Pod Substack, where I don't have anything new this week, but I am in the midst of writing my Mission Impossible Final Reckoning review. So I'm hoping to have it up for tomorrow, but we'll see. Definitely by the end of the week. So tomorrow Thursday. Won't be Friday because I'm at a wedding, so it'll definitely be before I go away for that.
Is it your wedding, Sam?
Wedding.
It's not my wedding.
Okay.
Are there any funerals involved? Sorry. How many weddings?
Hopefully
Um,
How
not.
many?
Yeah. Hopefully you don't find me anywhere. If you do, I'm KJudgmental in various places. I don't have anything new up at the moment because I'm in between running to conferences and other various events. Hopefully, at some point, I will actually get back to writing stuff.
But you did do Final Destination Bloodlines 2 weeks ago,
Yes.
didn't you? So
I was going to say yes. Was I online for that? Was I around for that? I can't remember where
Yes.
I was at the point when I was uploading. I think I might have been sat in a hotel room uploading that. It
Yeah.
might have gotten back from it. I can't remember. I'd had it
Yeah.
written for about a week before I uploaded it. So
And you can find me at Jacob Film Guy. I need to write my Lilo and Stitch review because I did see that. I just have not had a chance to write it yet, but that'll be up on the Second Cut, whatever, Substack.
I kind of
But
refused to go see
better or
that.
worse, better or worse than the new Snow White.
Oh, then I was gonna say that the old movie.
Yeah.
You know, compared to Snow White, I liked Snow White more. If that tells you anything.
Okay.
Like I refused to go watch this one because like Lilo and Stitch is one of the first films I ever saw in the cinema. I remember like vaguely going to see it, and I watched it so much when I was like 4 or 5, sort of thing. So I kind of straight up
Don't worry.
refused.
We talked about it with quite a lot of affection last week. So.
Yeah.
We did. So that is it for this episode. But yeah, go find us there. We'll be back with something else next week. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Adios. Ciao.